It's lights out!
Welcome back to another episode of Drive Thru Penalty. I'm Sean. That's my father, Craig. We are here every week bringing you the latest in F1 news, some good old motorsport history, and F1 fantasy strategy. Let's get into it.
Dad, wake up. We're live.
Oh. Yeah. The Japanese GP was a snooze fest. No overtakes, no accidents. It was pretty boring.
So out of all the guys that started in their various positions on the grid, only one spot changed after the entire race. They set records for. It was the first time in 30 years or something that the top six came in the same six that they started with. The only change I think that occurred was between Tsunoda and Lawson, which is kind of interesting.
The only other race that had fewer overtakes was Monaco. So, Monaco 2.0, I'm not sure. Do we like Japan?
I think Japan, from a visual standpoint, was a lot of fun to watch. And, the mountain in the back, I mean, it was great. We keep hearing more and more about these tracks that you can't pass on, and I have a take on that. I think a lot of it is due to the fact that only 10, 15 years ago, a good pit stop, let's say, was 18 seconds, and a bad one was 24 seconds. Now, a good pit stop is 2 seconds, and a bad one's 2.5 seconds. So you can't get any overtaking by having that better pit crew, and they don't come out in different positions that they used to. They know exactly how long they're going to be in there for. So, you know what? If it's a fantastic track, and if you can't pass, you have to do what Max did.
And Max was being Max again. He somehow found lap time in that Q3 in qualifying. It was unbelievable. And he was ahead of the pack the entire race.
Fernando Alonso, he's a savvy veteran, said that there isn't anybody on the grid today that could make that car go any faster than Max did. And he's a very competitive fella, Fernando. So for him to praise a fellow driver on a different team is really him sticking his neck out.
And I mean, let's talk Yuki Tsunoda. All eyes were on him this week. Did he hold up to the pressure?
I think he did exactly what I said he would do. It's a really, really difficult car to drive, and he's going to need a lot of time, and he might need more than a lot of time. It might take him a whole year.
Somehow he still won Driver of the Day, which I don't understand. And if you're a fantasy Formula One player and you didn't have Yuki on your team and you had somebody who should have deserved it, you were probably pissed off like I was. I mean, I'm happy for him, home race, but there is no chance in hell Yuki Tsunoda deserved that Driver of the Day.
No, I agree with you. I'm figuring they gave it to him, the home field advantage.
If anything, this is the week that Kimi Antonelli should have won. That kid was flying on the track. He was putting up fastest laps. McLaren looked good again this week. Lando, Oscar, 2-3. I mean, I think it's going to be like that all year long.
So do I. I think the issue with McLaren's getting criticized a little bit because they had the fastest car there, and they came second and third. And I can't be critical of them right now. I think it's just because Max did an incredible job, and he deserved to win, like I said earlier.
What do you think of my Ferrari boys?
Well, Lewis Hamilton actually called out the Ferrari team this week, saying it's got a long way to go. We better get this thing fixed. He thinks that his car is different than Leclerc, and he feels that he needs work done on his car. He's not concerned about the other one. He's concerned about his. And I think they're really looking forward to upcoming upgrade. It's going to be an early upgrade compared to the other teams, but I think they're only a week or two away.
As a Tifosi, I sure hope so.
How'd you do this week in fantasy? Are you vaulting up the standings?
I think I gained 1 or 2 spots. Yeah, thank you very much. Last week we talked about budget building. We talked about points, kind of where we want to focus. And McLaren's still looking like the strongest constructor to have on your team. And if you can afford McLaren and Mercedes right now, that is the current meta. And if you don't have it, I strongly suggest working towards that. Now for drivers, Oscar Piastri, still the best premium constructor to have moving into Bahrain. Lando Norris is still a good pick, but in terms of value and budget building, I think he has to score 40 plus points in order to hit the 0.3 threshold, which is going to be tough, making Oscar a better choice for this week in my opinion. There's a couple guys you definitely want to pick up this week, and there's a couple guys you definitely want to drop. The pickups, Isaac Hadjar. He has now moved past that 3-race window where that Australian GP is out of the way, and he has hit the floor of 4.5 million. He's not going to get any cheaper. He's only going to go up from here, and based on his 3-race average, he's almost guaranteed to make money, which is an absolute buy for me. Another good pickup this week is Jack Doohan. I have a hard time with that one just because I don't think he's going to last very long. We'll get into that later, but I think Colapinto is going to take that seat before Miami. But as right now, he is great for building budget and almost a definite must-have on your team if you want to have the McLaren Mercedes combo, because you'll have to have one of the drivers that costs a little bit less. A couple of great drivers to have, Ollie Behrman and Ocon, and 2 cells for me for sure. You definitely want to get rid of Nico Hulkenberg because he's got to do a lot of work this week in order to make you money. And Lance Stroll. He is on the sell list for me. That stroller coaster has gone in the direction I thought it was going to go in. And now that he's no longer making me money, I don't see him or any use for him on my team at the moment.
You had Stroll?
I actually, last minute I changed, but there were a lot of people out there that did have Stroll. And again, he was making money, so he wouldn't have been a bad pick. But I mean, that guy was in a world of his own for the rest.
Well, yeah, you mean like last place.
Yeah.
It was 25 seconds behind second last place. So I've got a question. I know Colapinto he's not going to be on the grid this week, but I think that time is really close. He was, they said he was practicing at Monza last week. So is that a good time to pick a guy for the pool when he's starting his first race, or are you supposed to wait until you see what he can do? I mean, I'd like to get him from the get-go.
I think it's going to come down to what he's priced at right off the jump. If he's reasonably priced and we see that there's potential in him making money and scoring points, I think it's definitely worth it. I like him better than Jack Doohan if they're priced the same, just based on some of last year's performances. But
He's going to replace Doohan.
He's going to be replacing Doohan, right? And if we remember how the end of the season went with Franco, it wasn't all glamour and glory. So
depends the team you're on too, right?
yeah, so I think he'll fit in well with the Alpine team, but I have a very strong suspicion that we're going to be seeing him in the next couple of weeks.
So I have a question, Sean. And I don't know, I don't want it to come off the wrong way, but I've noticed when you look at the schedule of racing events, Formula One, there seems to be a real movement towards like the Middle East and Western Asia. So circuits in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Azerbaijan, Singapore, China, Japan, that's fine. Japan was around, I think that race is over 60 years old. And I did a little bit of research and I went into, the latest numbers I could get was 2022. But I said there must be a reason this is happening, and we all know that Formula One's all about money. And those countries I just mentioned, they're paying around $50 million to host the race in their country, whereas the average for all the existing races is around 30 million. Japan's 30 million. I think Canada's 30 million. The cheapest is Monaco at 15 million. And it's just, I guess I'd rather just see some of those races go back into places that used to have Grand Prix.
I have a whole bunch of them I could name right now off the top of my head, places I would love to see some Formula One racing.
So this is a segue really into history, because what I've compiled is a list of all the countries that have held Grand Prix over the years that no longer do. And there's a couple of really, really amazing ones that you can't believe. Argentina, Germany, India, Sweden, Portugal, Korea, Luxembourg, Russia, South Africa, Switzerland, Turkey. So those are the countries that have held Grand Prix before that have lost them over time. There's a couple of obvious ones there, like that I can't believe. And one, for instance, is Germany. How can there not be a Formula One race in Germany? Well, I checked into it. It was always very, very well attended. And you know, a lot of this success in the circuits is where they finished up attendance-wise. Schumacher, in his heyday, it was a huge attended event in Germany. And when he retired, it went down to like 44,000 people attending, stuff like that. And they just had to pack it in. It just didn't make economic sense. Another one for me is Argentina. And, you know, there's only one in South America. Argentina, the great Juan Fangio, he was Argentinian.
I mean, with Franco on the grid now, it's all the more reason to have a race there, right?
So what happened there was it just kind of ran out of gas. Dominic, the guy in charge of Formula One, he actually went down to Argentina, and he's had a meeting with the government officials and the head of motorsport in Argentina, because the interest level in Argentina with Colapinto's gone way up, and to the point where there's a lot of Argentinian flags now going to Miami and Dallas and Brazil, Sweden. So whether it's Sweden or somewhere else, I really think that Lapland is a wonderful part of the world, and there's a lot of drivers come out of Sweden and Finland. And what happened there? The last one was in 1978. There was two drivers, Ronnie Peterson and Gunther Nelson, and they both died in '78. Very famous. One died on the track, Ronnie Peterson. The other man died of cancer, and his last year racing was the year before. So he died a young man. Another one that I think I know Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton would like to return there is South Africa. The problem in South Africa really is the corruption. I think 12% of the population makes all the money. It's corruption, and they would like to go back to Africa, but I don't think that's the country to go to. I think you might find them building a track somewhere else if someone throws the money at it, because I'm sure that they would love to be in that continent. So to wrap it up, it's lack of interest is lack of funding. So I think now, Sean, is the time where you can kind of direct with a little more details on the F1 pool for the poolies out there as to, when we use chips or when you change players out. He's already given you a preface earlier on, some of the guys he would drop in that. But I think he'll actually take the time and show you how to make some of these changes. Good luck.
Welcome back to the F1 fantasy segment of this video. As Craig mentioned, we're going to cover a few different things today. We're going to go over budget building. We're going to go over points and what is now being considered the meta team build moving into the Bahrain Grand Prix. So let's get started. This is my team as it currently stands. If you watched the video last week, you know that we talked about budget building, and that was our number one priority. Also in this video, we mentioned that, the first half of the season right now, a lot of team managers are looking at building the budget opposed to scoring points. There's no right or wrong way to play fantasy Formula One, but if you played last year in the past, you'll know that building a budget and having those premium constructors and drivers later on is a game changer. So, getting off to such a horrible start at the beginning of the year, this is our team right now. And the way we set up our team last week was to ultimately make money. And that's what we did. So all of my drivers right now are in the green, or in this case, the blue. Every single driver made me money, from Piastri, Albon, Ocon, Behrman, Hülkenberg, McLaren, and Racing Bulls. Now, that's not the case moving into Bahrain. We know that budget is gain and loss based on a 3-race average. So that first race in Australia is going to drop off, and everybody that did bad will no longer be holding on to that moving forward. There's a couple drivers that are looking really good, as mentioned. We're just going to clear this team, and I'm going to show you guys what the meta build is. Let's leave McLaren there because they are obviously on board. We spoke earlier about Mercedes. Some team owners that have 103 to 105 million are going to be able to own this team. I am just short, but for everyone that can't afford it, I'll show you kind of the direction that a lot of the people are talking about being the meta build. So McLaren, Mercedes, drivers, we were looking at Oscar Piastri. We mentioned earlier why Lando Norris isn't a good choice. Max Verstappen, I don't know if I trust his Red Bull, and Oscar Piastri is going to fill that seat for me. So other drivers that are going to be making money this week, the Haas guys again, Esteban Ocon, Ollie Behrman. Guys to definitely consider, Isaac Hadjar, he's hit the floor. He's 4.5 million. You can't go any lower. And now that his Australian GP is out of the way and we're just taking China and Japan into Bahrain,
he's likely to gain value, and he's a great asset at such a low price. So we're going to have Isaac Hadjar on our team as well. Unfortunately, we aren't able to have this meta build because we have fallen behind. But for those of you who can, you would most likely want to fill that last driver's seat with Jack Doohan. He's only 5.4 million. He is almost guaranteed to make money this week. He's only taking Japan and China again into Bahrain, and we're dropping that Australian -20. So he would be a great asset to have moving forward. I would put him on my team if I could afford it. Another option would be if you can't afford him, you could drop somebody like Ocon and have Jack Doohan, and we have just enough money to have Gabriel Bortoleto. So in theory, I could take this team, but that would mean I would have to take a couple extra transfers and take that -20, which in my opinion isn't worth it. If we look at actual total points scored versus what that -20 is going to cost us, it might be in the long run. But I don't necessarily want to have Bortoleto on board yet because he is going to lose me money, and my focus still is going to be getting that money this week. So this week for me, most likely, I am going to be dropping Alex Albon, as he will need to score a lot of points in order to gain me more value. I am most likely going to switch him with Isaac Hadjar, and I'm going to be dropping that other asset I mentioned earlier, Nico Hulkenberg, and replacing him with Jack Doohan. This team is almost guaranteed to make me money this week as long as we don't have DNFs. So I really like that, and I am planning on really setting myself up for the next GP in Saudi Arabia. Lastly, a couple things to consider. Jack Doohan might lose his seat to Colapinto. That being said, we have to think a couple races ahead here, and that he'll most likely be using up one of our transfers either pre or post Miami. So just something to think about. So if you guys want to run these calculations for yourself, just head on over to f1fantasytools.com/budget-builder. If you haven't seen this website before, it's an absolute game changer when coming to picking your lineups, figuring out what teams are going to score the most points, who's going to make you the most money. But I really like this section in particular because it really puts everything into perspective for you. So it'll show you exactly how many points each driver needs to score or constructor to hit that plus 0.3, plus 0.1 threshold, or how likely they are to lose you money. So really, we kind of base our teams around this moving week to week, and definitely highly recommend you checking them out. To get premium features, you'll have to subscribe and pay for it. Again, I think it's totally worth it. Thanks again, guys, for watching. Good luck to everybody, and I look forward to seeing y'all next week.
Thanks for that, Sean.
Anytime. So we'll see you this weekend in Bahrain. It is going to be a hot one.
And how hot is hot?
Hot's hot.
Okay.
3 times more DRS zones. Should be some more overtaking. I hope to see some good action. We'll follow up with you next week with all the highlights. Stay tuned. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. We'd appreciate it.
Hey, Sean, we're in Bahrain.